Recording. Okay, Be'ezrat Hashem. So we are, like we said, Perek Gimel, Pasuk He. Betach El Hashem, trust in Hashem, have bitachon in Hashem, Bechol Libecha, with all your heart, Ve'el Binatecha Al Tisha'en, and don't rely on your own understanding, on your bina. This is a very, 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 very controversial pasuk. Very. So okay. Says the Gaon. Betach el Hashem bechol libecha. Trust in Hashem, have bitachon in Hashem with all your heart. Hainu, what does that mean? Sheyeh libcha shalem b'midat habitachon. Your heart should be complete, should be whole when it comes to midat habitachon. Velo b'miktzat halev, and not with just a little bit of the heart. We need to understand what the Gaon is trying to tell us here. Essentially, if we, I just want to jump for a second because open the Mishlei, Perek Yud Dalet, Pasuk Kavav. There, Shlomo says, "Beyirat Hashem miftach oz, ulebanav yiyeh mahseh." The Gaon explains, "Yesh shenei chelkei bitachon." There are two parts of the bitachon, two types of bitachon. One type of the bitachon, says the Gaon, שהקדוש ברוך הוא מבטיח לתת לו הון רב ועושר, a direct promise from Hashem. Like we say, he says, like כמו שמצאנו, שהבטיח השם להתברך לאברהם אבינו, שיעשירנו. Like Hashem promised Avraham Avinu that he will make him rich. וזה נקרא ביטחון. That's called ביטחון. And then there is another type of bitachon. It's not based on what Hashem promises, but it's on what you rely that Hashem will do for you. And you know that he's going to do the best. And that is called hisayon, lemachseh. He gives an example. It's like somebody, it's raining outside, it's pouring outside, and there is a stone, a big stone. And the man goes under that stone. The stone didn't promise to hover over the man and protect him. But he does. Why does the man go under the stone? Because he knows for sure that that's what's going to happen. The logic states that if it's raining and you go inside a cave, it won't rain inside the cave. But the cave is not a direct blessing or promise from God that it made this cave to protect you. Just you benefit from the outcome of the cave, of what the cave can do if it rains. So says the Gaon in there. He says we have two types of bitachon of trust in Hakadosh Baruch Hu. One is when you rely fully on clear promises. So, for example, on all the promises of the Torah. And another level of bitachon, which is not called bitachon but chisayon, is when you rely on Hashem to protect you. And you know that he's going to do the best for you. But that's not Lashon Bitachon. He says that it's Lashon Chisayon. So when Shlomo HaMelech says, Betach el Hashem bechol libecha, trust in Hashem from all your heart. And he says the Gaon, from all your heart and not part of your heart. Essentially, what the Gaon is telling us here, you need to believe in the promises of the Torah, in the outcome of your actions according to the Torah. And full-heartedly. What does it mean full-heartedly? Without starting rationalizing. When you think about it, and I think we've addressed it a few times, in order for Hakadosh, we have tzaddik veralo verasha vetovlo, right? We have people that are righteous and things bad happen to them. We have people that are wicked and not good, and good things happen to them. And then we ask ourselves the question: how are the punishments or the rewards of the Torah accurate in these cases? So the Chachamim explain to us in different places that in order to be blessed with the Berkot Torah and to be exposed to the punishments of the Torah, you have to be aligned with the Torah. You have to have the proper emunah, you have to have the proper actions, and only then can you benefit from the berachot of the Torah as stipulated, and the person be exposed to the punishment. But if a person is not in sync and aligned with the Torah, so his behavior and his emunah distorts that interaction. And it could be that now the person is less under the Hashgachat Hashem, which is the Hashgacha of the Torah, the control and the protection, malicious protection of the Torah. And now the person, shifts and drifts out of that pipeline, that equilibrium, and now enter more of what is called, we can say, randomness. So when the Gaon says you have to have bitachon in Hashem fully, with a full heart, what it means is that you have to believe with full clarity and full emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the Torah, and know without a doubt that whatever rewards the Torah stipulates, you will get. So it's interesting. The Gaon explains the Gemara. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara had the Chachamim had a question. The pasuk says, "Ashlech el Hashem, Ashlech ha'al Hashem yehavcha, vehu yechalkelecha." Throw the responsibility on Hashem. Yehavcha, He will give you, He will provide. Vehu yechalkelecha, and He will give you kalkala. But the word yehavcha is a very odd word. It's not a word that is clear to understand. So the Gemara says that the Chachamim, at the time of the Gemara, had a safek. They didn't know how to translate accurately the word yehavcha. We don't find it so much in the Torah. So what does it mean? Yehavcha. So the Gemara tells us a story. No, the Chachamim couldn't understand what that means until Rabba Bar Chana was once in a journey, and he was carrying heavy loads. And he saw a Muslim that had a camel that was carrying for him his loads. So Rabbi Bar Chana was thinking, what am I going to tell him? How am I going to tell him? How much I'm going to pay? Right? He was preparing a whole pitch to convince the Muslim to let Rabbi Bar Chana use his camel, and he's going to pay him, and he's going to benefit from it. And while they were walking, and Rabbi Bar Chana is still carrying his load, the Muslim turns around and tells him, "Give me Yavra, give me your weight, and let me put it on my camel." And he didn't charge anything. He did it for free. So when the Muslim told him, Shekol yehivcha v'shade agamlai. Take your load and put it on my camel. And he used the word yehivcha. So Rabbi Bar Chana said, "Oh, yehivcha. Now I understand what yehivcha means. Ashlech yehavcha. Throw your load, your heaviness, okay? Al Hashem, on Hashem, and He will take care of you." So the Gaon doesn't understand something. He said, "One second. You're going to tell me that this pasuk, nobody understood it. It's a pasuk in Tehillim, yeah. Nobody understood it until that Muslim guy from the desert came and used the word, a slang. It cannot be. It cannot be. So what is the Gemara telling us? So he says something beautiful. The Chachamim, the word Yehavcha, they knew. But what does it mean? They didn't. They had a machloket. And what's the machloket of Chachamim? The machloket of Chachamim is, does one have to do a hishtadlut? He has to do his effort and what is expected from him, and have emunah that Hashem will give him the right outcome, or the real Baal Bitachon, the person who has Bitachon, is not even his Ishtadlut, he shouldn't do. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will take care of everything. That's the machloket of, that's how the Gaon understands the question in the Gemara. The Chachamim, they couldn't understand. They could not know what it means, Yavcha. Asher Yavcha, throw your load, yeah, on Hashem. What does that mean? Do you throw your load after your efforts? Or you throw your load completely without any efforts? Rabbi Chana, what did he understand? He's like, I understand what it means to have bitachon and what it means, ashlech yavcha, throw your load. From that situation, I wanted to speak to the Muslim, to convince him to put my load on his camel, and I was ready to pay, and I was doing negotiation with myself. If he says this, I give him. If he says that, I give that. Right? A big movie in his head. And then what happened? The guy turns around and says, please, use my camel. And you know what? It's free. So he said, now I understand midat habitachon, that even your ishtadlut, you don't have to do. If I had to do ishtadlut, then I should have asked the guy and say, I'm willing to pay. And the guy would have said, well, you can use, you don't have to pay. But look, in this case, I didn't have to say a word. I didn't have to pay $1. And the guy said it for me completely, automatically. So now, for us, it's like a bunker buster, right? One second. What's going on here? Like, until we always understood that you need to do ishtadlut. Why? So how do we understand this Gaon? The Gaon is explaining when Shlomo Melech says Betach el Hashem bechol libecha, trust Hashem in all your heart. It means how far can you push the bitachon? How far can you trust HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Until when you can say, well, this is still trust. And when does it become folly? One might say folly is when you don't do nothing, you sit at home and you think everything is going to come from Hashem, and everything is going to fall to and come on your fall on your laps. And a lot of people will tell you you're Majnun, you're crazy. This is not bitachon. This is laziness. This is craziness. This is not bitachon. So then, what are these people implying? That there is a cap to the bitachon, and what is that cap to the bitachon? A level of ishtadlut, right? And some will tell you, no, the bitachon is without any ishtadlut. You can push your bitachon to a place that you don't have to lift your little finger, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu will deliver everything. You understand the dilemma here? Is until what level can you tolerate the concept of bitachon without compared to the ishtadlut? Does bitachon mean you need a minimum of ishtadlut and then the bitachon comes, or you can have bitachon without any ishtadlut? Yes.
Didn't we study that in the Torah? Like there are two type of thoughts. One that said that you could not move one finger, and another like.
Nachon. But here, it's not a machloket. Here, the question is, in the concept itself, can the concept tolerate bitachon without any ishtadlut? or the concept is unacceptable as a concept, Now, after that, how do you apply the bitachon? You have two schools of thoughts. Why? Because you not everybody is at the level of emunah and bitachon. For example, the Ramban, when he's addressing Avraham Avinu's journey from Eretz Israel to Egypt because of the famine, he says, Het gadol chata Avinu. Avraham Avinu made a very big sin, that he risked the life of Sarah, and he left Eretz Israel, and he didn't have full bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Well, he did ishtadlut. There was famine, there was no food. What do you want him to do? So according to the Ramban, Avraham Avinu was at a level where he didn't have to do anything. Hashem would have provided. The Ramban himself, on Verapo Yerape, tells us that in Achinami, the people that have the emunah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will deliver everything, and that's consistent in everything they do in their life, they don't need to go to the doctor. So why Hashem gave refuah through doctors? Because of the ones that don't have full emunah. So they do the ishtadlut. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to, as a part of the ishtadlut, you go to the doctor. But in Achinami, if a person, it's true that if a person wouldn't rely on anything and anyone, person sits and waits, everything will come. The Gaon also says that if a person he calls them Gibor Hayil. The Gibor Hayil, who is the Gibor Hayil? The Gibor, right, is the one that has emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, okay, and bitachon in Hashem, that Hashem will provide this parnasah, to the point that he's willing to see his kids, okay, suffer of hunger, and he will not move an inch. Now, if you don't have that level of bitachon, then you do ishtadlut. And the more ishtadlut you do, and the less you are under the hashgacha, the accurate hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he will provide you everything. And we said it a few times. And what is the Gaon's proof? Tinok hanolad, a baby that's born. He's like, we never saw a baby that's born dying of hunger without. He cannot do anything. We provide. Now, obviously, we're not talking about the cases of extreme cases in places. A normal baby, he's born, he doesn't do anything, and he's provided everything. Kadosh Baruch Hu provides. So the machloket was in Chachamim, in the concept of bitachon. Can bitachon be taught? Can you expect from people to have a bitachon to such a level that they don't have to do any hishlat, zero? So answers the Gaon, we find a Gemara that says yes, the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah. And the Gaon applies that concept and that Hidush from Masechet Rosh Hashanah back into that Pasuk in Mishlei. And he says, you need to work your bitachon to the level where you have a full heart and not half of it, not a part of the heart. Because if you have a part of your heart that has bitachon, then you are subject now to ishtadlut. And ishtadlut is your actions. And your actions mean tainted efforts and not pure efforts. Because as much as you want to try to be pure, at the end, you're using a lot of thought and factors and sechel and everything. So you're contaminating the flow of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hashgacha on you because you do your ishtadlut. So the more bitachon you have, and the less ishtadlut you have to do. Why? Not because there's not going to be any result, but because more, Akadosh Baruch Hu will handle for you more than you have to physically, not because, again, you have to do it and you didn't do it, so he does it. You don't have to do it. Akadosh Baruch Hu created the world, created the system, and said, I'll deliver everything for you. I'll give you everything. Just like Adam Arishon before the sin. If Adam would not have sinned, everything would have been taken care of. He doesn't have to plant, he doesn't have to seed, he doesn't have to cook, he doesn't have to hunt, he doesn't have to nothing. Everything would have come. So why are we mishtadel? This is the byproduct of the curse on Adam Arishon. So the more ishtadlut you do, the more you're in the world of you feed the curse. The more you feed the curse, then the further you are from the interaction of Hashem with man before the sin of Adam Arishon. And the more you have bitachon, the closer you are to the level of Adam Arishon before the sin, and the less you have to do efforts. So Shlomo HaMelech says, Betach el Hashem, your efforts should be to develop your bitachon to its fullest level with all your heart. There's a nice story of Rabbi Israel Misalant. You heard of Rabbi Israel Misalant, yeah? Rabbi Israel Misalant, he gave a shiur on bitachon. And he says, someone that has real bitachon, the only ishtadlut he has to do, because apparently we have to do ishtadlut, according, we're not at the level of bitachon that we should be. But like the minimum, what's the minimum? Go buy a lottery ticket and you will win. If you have bitachon b'Hashem, one lottery ticket, you will have all your parasa for the year. So a student of the Rabbi Israel Misalan said, yeah, I have bitachon. I have bitachon, yeah, bitachon. Okay. What does he go? He goes and he buys a lottery ticket. And he comes to Rabbi Israel Misalant, he tells Rabbi Israel, Rebbe, I bought the ticket and I know for sure I'm going to win. I have bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So Rabbi Israel says, magnifique, beautiful. Ashrecha, ashrecha. How much do you want for that ticket? I'll buy it right away. How much is how much is the pot? He says, I don't know, 2 million ruble, 200,000 ruble, whatever it is. He's like, okay, I'll give you 20,000 ruble right away. And you tell me the ticket. The student said, for sure, I'll give you the ticket for 20,000 ruble. So Rabbi Israel told him, this is emunah, this is bitachon, right? You're willing to trade 200,000 for 20,000. That's not bitachon. You could rip your ticket, you're not winning. You understand the shtick? It's a beautiful story that brings out the finesse of the bitachon. So going back to the Gaon tells us, what is Shlomo HaMelech teaching us here? Do not stop developing your trust in Hashem's beracha and promises in the Torah. That's how the Gaon explains bitachon. And rely on logical outcomes based on your actions. You can, but that's not bitachon, that's hisayon. Continues the Gaon. It gets more complicated. Ve'el binatcha al tish'an, and do not lean and rely on your intellect, on your bina, שלא תאמר, אפתח בשם, don't say, I will have ביטחון עם השם, in Hashem, but I have to lean on my sechel. Hashem gave me a sechel, right? So I have to think. Says the Gaon, do not lean on your intellect. Afilu mitorat mish'an, even if it's just to rely on it, not to base yourself on your sechel to believe in the outcome, in the result, but don't even lean on the sechel. I told you it was complicated. אלא בטח אל השם בכל ליבך. What you have to do is trust Hashem fully. וסוד העניין, and the secret behind this, says the Gaon Mivilna, that by having bitachon in Hashem, bechol libecha, you become bechol el Hashem, you become all to Hashem. And when you become all to Hashem, Hashem blesses you in his the definition of blessing. Yes.
So you should use your intellect only for Torah, not for Ishtadlut.
Correct.
No movies.
Correct.
So when you start using Sechel for it, stop.
No, no. But listen, yes, yeah, the answer is yes. But let's redefine. Yeah, we wake up in the morning. There's work. So there's ishtadlut. There's ishtadlut. That's counterproductive to the bitachon. Okay? So essentially, what the Gaon is telling us: don't go to work, drop everything you have, empty your bank account completely. Okay, sell all your assets, give b'matana everything you have at home, so you're left with nothing. And have bitachon in HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and you will see everything is going to work. Now, because we are not on that level, we're very, very, very far from it. What the Gaon comes and tells us, you have to have a she'ifa towards it. Now, how do you work? What is the mechanism that helps you develop bitachon in a good way and proper way, and slowly detach yourself from leaning on or depending on your ishtadlut in your outlook, right? And being more reassured and more comfortable with your bitachon. So the Gaon explains that when Shlomo Amer says, Ve'el binatcha al tishan, don't lean on your intellect, what does that mean? It means that when you put an effort, you will usually determine your effort, or until when you're willing to put an effort based on your intellect, on your logic. Emet? And that will determine more or less the outcome. So your intellect, not only does it define and drives your effort, but it also shapes in your mind an expectation of an outcome. Says the Gaon Mivilna, try as much as you can not to use your intellect to determine the outcome, to limit the outcome, to shape the outcome.
Because then it produces emotions.
Expectations.
Because the outcome is not what you expected.
Emotions, yes. Emotions, expectations, but also you detach. This is where you detach yourself from the avodat habitachon, because again we are not in a generation, we are not in an era at a level of a bitachon where you can just do nothing. We're not there. We're not there. We're not there. It's not who, and it's not what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is expecting from us today. So what is
But to
HaKadosh
big
Baruch Hu?
Rabbanim, people from everyone, everything.
What? I'm sorry?
To the big Chachamim, people give them everything.
Nachon.
They study all day.
I'm sorry?
They study all day and people give them everything.
Yes. Nachon. ודאי, ודאי. But the world, I'm not talking עכשיו, the whole Olam HaTorah, the whole Olam HaTorah is based like this. All the Avrechim. The whole Olam HaTorah is built on that. Yeah? But in the world, in the outside world, there is no, you don't apply the ecosystem of the Olam HaTorah in the world, in the outside world of the Torah. Yes, if you're in the world of Torah, in Achinami, you're right. But if you're outside of it, so how do you work? How do you work? Shlomo HaMelech tells you, don't lean on your intellect. That doesn't mean do not use your intellect to assess a situation, because we have Bina. The Bina is important. What it comes to tell us is do not use that Bina to determine the outcome of your efforts. Because if you use your Bina, if you use your intellect, your logic to determine the outcome of your efforts, then by default, you are now dependent on your efforts. And essentially, what is bitachon? Is to be only dependent on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I do the mitzvot, there's reward. Running the opposite, right?
Imagine, don't use Bina for imagination.
I'm sorry?
Like imagination.
No, Bina is not imagination. Bina is not imagination. I'm sorry?
But you could build, like with Bina, you start to imagine outcomes.
Yes, you can use the Bina and through the Bina extrapolate and imagine. Yes. But even if you are factual, what you're doing is shifting the focus from the Ashgachat Hashem and putting it in a system of logic and limitations. So what you lose in the translation, except for the actual outcome, you lose the beracha of the outcome. Because the more there is bina, we know that bina is a midat adin, we know that bina is having davar mitoch davar, like we learned in the first prakim, right? It's dissecting, compartmentalizing, organizing, right? So it's a tzimtzum. It's a tzimtzum, right? So you're using a tzimtzum, a koach that is a koach of tzimtzum that is given to men to understand better and analyze better, and you're now applying it and projecting it in an outcome that is not here yet. The outcome is not here. So now suddenly your outcome becomes mitzumtzam because it's projected and it's analyzed by the bina. So the vessel of beracha of the outcome, you just lost. And obviously the outcome that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted also, you've lost. So what is what is the bitachon? The bitachon is to know that I've done my ishtadlut, if the ishtadlut is needed, right? By the way, tefillah also is ishtadlut, right? And that's it. The outcome is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And what's the and based on what do I know what type of outcome HaKadosh Baruch Hu is willing to give? Because we know that bitachon is haftacha gmura. The Gaon says is clear promises. Go back to the Torah, and based on your actions, the Torah promises certain rewards in the olam asiyah, in the world of actions.
Okay.
Dan, questions?
Yes. Yeah. So in the case of Rava, right?
Rabba
He,
Bachana, yeah.
right. He already started using his intellect to decide I am going to negotiate with a Muslim guy. I am going to line up how I want to try and negotiate the deal. Was that an error on his part?
That's
or was
exactly,
it
yes,
that was the
absolutely.
error.
That's exactly the hidush. He thought, this is what I need to do as part of my ishtadlut, and bitachon that be'ezrat Hashem, I'll do my ishtadlut, it's going to work. And the outcome was, hey, you didn't even have to think about it. They got offered it, and you have a sweeter deal. Not only that
Right.
you didn't have to say it and pay for it, you don't have to say a word, and you don't have to pay for it.
Why can't we say that his hishtadlut was already just to think, to ask, and Hashem intervened at that point? Meaning, if we already said from the case of Rabbi Yisrael Salante that you have to do hishtadlut, there is a requirement.
No.
Buy
But
the lotto
Rabbi
ticket.
Israel is talking in his generation.
So
Rabbi Bachana is talking in his generation.
in every generation, it gets diluted.
Vadai. And Rabbi Bachana himself says it. I thought that I understood what it means to throw your load on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is with a level of ishtadlut. And here I see that the guy, where you're saying, yeah, but the fact that I thought about it, it happened. So do you ever have a mina that if he would not have thought of it, the guy would not have told me, here, give me your load?
Right.
For sure he would have. Why? Shomer Eleh Hasidav, HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes care of the tzaddikim. You understand? So again, if you have bitachon that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give you what you need, and you will not have to even make the phone call, it will come to you. Then, yeah.
So where do we know, I mean, it's a hard question, but where do we know is our bitachon level today? Or where is our level today of threshold? Right.
To each their own. To each their own, right? But the avodah today is to practically detach ourselves from using our intellect to foresee and project outcomes. What does that mean? I do what I have to do. I do what I have to do. I'm expected, yeah, I'm expected to go to work. I'm gonna do my work. I'm expected in today's to each their own way. The Avrech is expected to go to Kollel and be there on time. He's there on time. Does he know at the end of the month if the Rosh Kollel has the money to pay or doesn't have to pay? He doesn't have. He doesn't know. He doesn't know. Elamai. So what's going on? Yes, a person opens his store. He knows if somebody's going to come in and buy or not. He doesn't know, right? But that's where the analytics stops, not in the outcome. Again, and Shlomo HaMelech takes it in a much higher level. When Shlomo HaMelech talks, he's talking at his level. What is he telling us? No, you should know that there's no limits to the level of bitachon, to how much you can lean on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You can go all the way. So there's no limitations to that interaction with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Just push it, push it, push it, and everyone will push it to in their own level.
Amazing.
Bezrat Hashem. Tov. That is
Beautiful.
yeah, Bezrat Hashem. So bli neder, next year we are Pasuk Vav.